In 1934, a single photo shows the entire world. Some say it's a hoax, others believe it's something ancient, but still alive. So what's really hiding beneath the darkness? Ness is a large freshwater nest in the Scottish Highlands. It takes its name from the river Ness, which follows through the northern end. Loch Ness lies along the Great Glen Fold, which forms the line of weakness in the rocks, which has been excavated by glacial erosion, forming the Great Glen and the basins of Loch, Loch, and Loch Ness. It has the greatest value and is the second deepest and second largest by surface area. However, Loch Ness is best known for claimed sightings of the cryptozoological Loch Ness monster, also known as Nessie. The earliest report of the monster in the vicinity of Loch Ness appears in the life of St. Columba by Davenon, written in the 7th century. According to Davenon, writing about a century after the events described, Irish monk St. Columba was staying in the land of the Picts with his friends. When he encountered local residents burying a man by the river Ness, they explained that the man, was swimming in the river when he was attacked by the water beast, and then mauled him and dragged him underwater despite their attempts to rescue him by boat. Then, Columba sent his followers doing to swim across the river. The beast approached him, but Columba made the sign of the cross and said, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." And then the creature stopped as if it had been pulled back with a rope and fled. And Columba, the man, and the Picts gave thanks for what they perceived as the miracle. This may not be a legend, but was recorded 100 years ago. So what made the creature famous? Perhaps it is related to two events: Arthur Grant and the surgeon photographer. On 5th January 1934, motorist Arthur Grant claimed to have nearly his creature while approaching Abraham at about 1 a.m. on a moonlit night. According to Grant, it had a small head attached to a long net. The creature, saw him and crossed the road back to the Loch. Grant, a university student, described it as a cross between a seal and Philistine sword. He said that he dismounted and followed it to the Loch, but he only saw the ripples. Grant produced a sketch of the creature that was examined by a zoologist, Maury Barton, who stated it was consistent with the appearance and behavior of Arthur. Regarding the long size of the creature reported by Grant, it had been suggested that this was a faulty observation due to the poor night conditions. Scientist Darren Ness has suggested that Grant may have seen either an otter or a seal and exaggerated his sighting over time. The surgeon's photograph is perhaps the most famous alleged photo of the creature, and is the first to portray its head and neck. It is attributed to Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London doctor. On 20th April 1934, Multiple British newspapers reported Wilson's claim to have seen the monster while driving near Ness the day before. But the stories do not mention the existence of the photographer. Donald Wilson described the monster as having a small head and swan-like neck, protruding 3 feet above the surface of the water. The Western Morning News reported, the following day, 21st April, the Daily Mail announced that it has purchased exclusive rights to the photo it attributed to Mr. Robert Wilson, M.A.M.B., C.H.B., C.A.M.B., FRCS of Queen Anne's Way, W., who has been touring the Loch Ness countryside. Along with the photo, it ran an interview with Wilson about his remarkable luck in being able to secure such a photograph. Wilson said he was looking at the Ness when he saw the monster, grabbed his camera, and seized 4 photos. Only 2 exposures come out clearly. The first reported shows a small head and back, and the second shows a similar head in a diving position. The first photo became well known, and the second, attracted little publicity because of its abnormalness. For 60 years, the photo was considered the evidence of the monster's existence, although skeptics dismissed it as a tricked word. An elephant, an otter, were aboard. The photo's scale was controversial. It is often shown cropped, making the creature seem huge and ripples like waves, while the uncropped shot shows the other end of the nest and the monster in the center. The ripples in the photo were found to fit the size and pattern of the small ripples rather than the large waves photographed up close. Analysis of the original image fostered further doubt. In 1903, the makers of the Discovery Communications documentary, Loch Ness, discovered and analyzed the uncrypted image of and found a white object visible in every version of the photo, implying that it was unnegative. It was believed to be the cause of the ripples, as if the object was being towed, although the possibility of a blemish on the negative could not be ruled out. An analysis of the full photograph indicated that the object was small, about 2 or 3 feet long. Since 1994, most agree that the photo was an elaborate hoax. It had been described as a fake in a 7 December 1975 Sunday Telegraph article that fell into obituary. Details of how the photo was taken were published in the 1999 book Ness, the surgeon's photograph exposed, which contains the facsimile of the 1975 Sunday Telegraph article. The creature was reportedly a toy submarine built by Christian Serpling, the stepson of an actor, screenwriter, director, producer, and perhaps most salient, bargain hunter, M.A. Wellsboro. Spring admitted the photograph was a hoax in January 1991. Wellsboro had been publicly ridiculed by his employer, the Daily Mail, after he found massive footprints that turned out to be a hoax. Oh, that's really crazy. I just can't believe my eyes. Whoa, that's crazy. But to get revenge on the Mail, Westbrook perpetrated his hoax with co-conspirator Serpling, Jane Collin, and Morris Chambers. Wow, this guy was really cool. I can't imagine why they do this. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, the toy submarine was bought from F.W. Wells, and its head and snare were made from a wood putty after tested in a local pond. The ground went to a Loch Ness, where Ian Marmaduke, Westworld, took their photos near the LTT house. When they heard the water bailiff approaching, Westworld sends their model with his food, and it is, presumably still somewhere in Loch Ness. Chambers gave the photographic place to Wilson, a friend of his who enjoyed a good practical joke. Wilson bought the place to Austin, a chemist, and gave them to George Morrison for development. He sold the first to the Daily Mail, who then announced that there was the monster had been photographed. Little is known of the second photo. It is often ignored by researchers who believe its quality too poor and its differences from the first photo too great to, warrant analysis. It shows the head similar to the first photo, with a more turbulent wave pattern and possibly taken at a different time and location in the Loch. Some believe it to be an earlier and cruder attempt at a hoax, and others, including Roy Markle and Maurice Barton, consider a picture of a diving board or an altar that Wilson mistook for a monster. According to Morrison, when the place was developed, Wilson was uninterested in the second photo. He allowed Morrison to keep the negative, and the photo was rediscovered years later. When asked about the second photo by the Ness Information Service newsletter, something was divulged and thought it might have been a piece of wood they were trying out as a monster. Wow, that's crazy. But that was not sure. Although rumors of monsters in this area have been considered exaggerated and fake, there are many people, including scientists, who get there in an attempt to find the legendary creature. D. Gordon Tucker, the chair of the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering at the University of Birmingham, volunteered his services as the senior developer and expert at Loch Ness in 1968. His gesture, part of a larger effort led by the LNPIB from 1967 to 1968, involved a collaboration between volunteers and professionals in a number of fields. Tucker and his choosing Loch Ness as the test site for a prototype sonar transducer with a mass range of 800 meters. The device was faced underwater at Temple Pier in Oregon Bay and directed at the opposite shore, drawing an acoustic net across the Loch Ness through which no moving object could pass undetected. During the two-week trial in August, multiple targets were identified. One was probably a shoal of fish, but others moved in a way not typical of shoals of space up to 10 knots. In 2003, the BBC sponsored a search of the Loch using 600 sonar beams and satellite tracking. The search was sufficient resolution to identify a small buoy. No animal of substantial size was found, and despite their reported hopes, the scientists involved admitted that this proved the Loch Ness monster was a myth. Searching for the Loch Ness monster aired on BBC One. The Loch Ness, dark, petty water has the unexpected low visibility, which can make ordinary objects appear mysterious. Additionally, oscillation in the water surface and mirages caused by temperature differences can distort the appearance of birds, seals, or deer swimming in the water. Here are the things which can better explain what is in the mystery of Loch Ness. First, geological activity. Loch Ness sits directly on the Great Land Fault. Minor tremors can release columns of bubbles that might be mistaken for larger creature surfacing. Giant eels is the second. A 2018 DNA survey found a significant amount of elf DNA in the water, leading some researchers to suggest that Ness could actually to be the unusually huge European eel. Third, surgeons were sturgeons were seals. Large wall-scaly bad fish like sturgeons or warring seals are often cited as likely candidates for historical sightings. Swimming elephants is fourth. One theory suggests that 1930s sightings coincided with the traveling circus, where the elephants were allowed to bask in the Loch with only their trunks and backs visible. However, some conspiracy theories hold that their creature might have something to do with the military experiment, which has been viewed as a top secret. So, do you think the underwater creature is a hoax or a misunderstanding? Or we are afraid of something unknown? Or maybe the real mystery is not what is in the water, but what we want to believe is true. So what do you think? Just leave a comment below.